It was so weird because I don't even know what to say, and also it was a shock for him as well because he thought I was gonna be angry. He thought I was gonna be throwing tantrums, but it was the total opposite. So I feel like for me, talking about it, engaging and sharing my experience with others helps me a lot because now I get to see that maybe not knowing my father, if I had known him, I wouldn't have turned out the person that I am. That's one of the things that he says, because there was a time when he was even talking to my grandmother, saying that there was a time where he was in church and he couldn't even bring himself to pray because he knew that he has a child that he left.
Welcome once again to another episode of Daily Issues Platform Podcast, a platform where we discuss anything. And we said that we are not here to bash anyone, but we're here to reflect and to talk about ourselves actually. And very much important to note that we are not a therapist, but we reflect and we mix a bit with some spiritual insights. And today we have yet another important guest who has decided to join us. Welcome, Sisi. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I am good. Tell us, who are you?
Okay, my name is Abongile. I am from Butterworth, born and bred there. But I've been this side for 10 years now, and I'm a co-founder of the natural organic hair care product called Black Crown. And pretty much I work also aviation at A-Link, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
you for taking time to come and join us. I didn't want to disturb you when you were introducing yourself.
Yes.
But when you said this side, some people don't know where we are.
Oh yeah, we are in Johannesburg, people. We're in Joburg. So yes, that's the here I'm talking about.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, we will have a very chillaxed, some chat that's chillaxed.
Okay,
It's not an interview, so to say. But to get to know you, then we'll have to ask some questions. I want you now to, take us into confidence and go back as you were a child growing up. How was your childhood?
Well, my childhood for me was normal. Why am I saying it was normal? Because in the community that I grew up in, I was pretty much like any other child. We grew up in families mostly where most kids are raised by their grandparents. There's uncles, there's brothers, there's cousins, Yes, so pretty much that's how my upbringing was. It was a very lovely childhood, even though not everything was spoken, not everything was in the open. There were things that you couldn't really talk about or address, but above everything, it was okay. It was a beautiful childhood, actually.
How many are you at home?
My siblings, for my mother. So I only have a brother. I have a biological brother, but I grew up in a very big family, so we had cousins and everyone. So it was sort of that thing. And also growing up, we never really had that this is your cousin, this is this. We were just one thing. We were just siblings, everyone. It was pretty much that.
Okay. And emotionally, how would you describe your home back then?
Emotionally.
How was it emotionally?
Okay, emotionally on the surface, it was okay because, we had a fair share of good times, a fair share of not so good times like any other family, but it was not an unstable family. I was raised mostly by my grandmother, and even my grandmother's sister was there growing up. Even my grandmother's brothers were there growing up. My uncles were there and everyone, but also there were things that you couldn't talk about, things that are related maybe to sexuality and things like that. You couldn't really open up about those things, because like immediately when you try to be inquisitive, you'll just be shut down. Like, no, we don't talk about that. You know what I'm saying? You ask too much questions, you know, it would be that. So there was also, when it comes to that, it was very limiting, you know. And also, you know, when you grow up with certain issues that are sensitive for you to discuss, it kind of affects you in opening up in real life. You become a very reserved and, you know, secretive person in a way. So personally, I had to train myself. I had to teach myself to be vocal. And now I'm like the most vocal person you could ever meet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. A little bit back, you said it was a stable home.
Yes.
How do you define stable?
It was stable in a sense, as I said earlier. It was stable to me at the time because that's how everybody was in my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. In my neighborhood, most kids my age, there was always a grandmother raising grandkids. So for me, it was stable in that sense, that I'm not different from anyone. It's everyone's reality around me. You know what I'm saying? So it was stable. It was stable in that sense.
So looking back now, would you still maintain that it was stable?
Looking back,
knowing what you know, having been to where you've been
and experienced all the things. I would say emotionally, no. But for the most part, my livelihood, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Emotionally, no.
But for my livelihood, my daily routine, waking up, everyone is happy, everyone is greeting each other, there's love. You are taught to share how to love others and things like that. It was good in that sense.
Okay. Where was your mother?
Oh, okay. My mother was young when she had me. She was in varsity. So that's where my parents met, actually. They met in varsity. And then whatever happened between them. So at that time, my mom was young. She was trying to make a life for herself as well. She was here in Joburg while I was there with my grandmother. So she was also trying to make a living for herself. Yeah.
Okay. So how often did you see your mother?
I saw my mother like maybe at the time, maybe once or twice a year. Yeah, it would be like that because there was a long time where she was also struggling to get a job. She was in between. It was very hard for her. So I kind of understood now, you know, when I'm reflecting now, I'm like, well, possibly because she was also trying. So it wasn't as easy for her to just pop in anytime. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
But back then, did you understand?
Back then, actually, I never really felt like I missed anything because I feel like my grandmother perfectly filled that. Yes, I would miss her and then I would talk to her on the phone and whatever. But for the most part, I think my grandmother was there to, you know, feel in that. So for the longest time, I never really felt that there was anything missing. Yeah.
Okay. And I don't hear you speaking about your father in that setup.
Yeah, he was not there. My father was not there in that setup. He was not there. I only got to meet my father when I was 18. That's when I got to meet him and know him and have conversations with him and all of those things. So that, yeah, so for that period, it was just...
Okay, so as you grow up, like other kids, you're playing, do others go home where there is a dad and you come home where there is your grandfather? How is that situation explained to you, if it was explained?
Oh, well, the thing is, as I said earlier, most of my reality at the time, it was not like that. It was, most kids were more like me. Yes.
In your household?
Not in my household,
Even
in my neighborhood.
in your neighborhood.
Most kids were raised by their grandparents.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I never really felt that there was anything wrong with me because that was the reality of most, about 90% of the kids that I grew up with, that was their reality. So that's why I never really felt like there's anything wrong. I was never really inquisitive. Yes, I would have those questions to wonder why, well, you know, but I would never really go into
Ask
it.
them.
I would never really open up to ask. And I think also it would be that thing that what I mentioned earlier, not certain things are very sensitive for you to openly speak about. So I think that was another factor to it. That was another reason why I couldn't really speak up and ask such questions, because also remember, I grew up in a household where there was men. I had like a lot of male figures in my childhood, you know what I'm saying? So it was pretty much like that. but it is confusing. It was confusing, especially when at a certain age it would be confusing because you'd hear other kids mentioning that, okay, this is my father or whatever. But for me, it would be like, okay, out of all of these men here, I wonder, you know what I'm saying? But then you get to realize that that's not how it works. You know, when you start to see things and you know, as you grow, you get to know who people are, you know what I'm saying? But as a kid, it's just, you know, it's very confusing.
So, before you turn 18, I really want to hear how were the views around the issue of fatherhood. When your mother comes back, does she say anything about your father?
Okay.
Or she just
No.
pretend as if all
Okay,
is
she
well?
never really said anything for a long time until I think, and also at that time, I think I was around 15 or whatever. She's the one who actually told me. I didn't even ask her. Like I think at that time, oh yes, I was applying for a new school. So when you apply for a school, you know, they want both parents. Like they want the details of both parents. So I think that's where the conversation started actually, because we went there together and everything, and then that was when she was like, okay, this and this person is your father. He comes from, you know what I'm saying, and then he explained everything. I was like, oh, okay, and then it ended there, and then she actually made means to find him. I never really had to ask her anything. She was like, and what she told me, she's like, you deserve to know, even though you never really asked. And she would always ask me, how come you never really asked? And my answer would always be, well, if someone doesn't care about me, why should I care about them? It was that for me. So if you don't take time to find me, then why should I even waste my time on that? So for me, it was just that I'll just be like, I don't want to associate myself with that. I'm just gonna focus on myself. That's just been me.
So his absence, in your mind, you interpreted as if he does not care.
Yeah, it was
Period.
pretty much that. So for me, it would be like, okay, so you don't care, I don't care also. Yes, everybody wants to know where they come from, the sense of identity. That's just something that everybody wants. You know, I'm not gonna sit here and say I didn't want that, but for me it would be like, in as much as I want that, I think I already have enough. You know what I'm saying? I already have enough. So if you don't care, then I also don't care. So that's just how it's gonna go until my mother took that initiative to be like, okay, I'm gonna find him. Yes, and it was crazy. It was very crazy.
How?
It was crazy because, okay, my mother made the initiative to find him and then spoke to the wife he was married to at the time and everything. The wife started stalking me. She would send me like these little texts on Facebook. You know, she would just send me like texts. She would just, and also from her side, because at that time I didn't even know. She told me that she was doing that because maybe she wanted to see me, but at the same time she didn't want to scare me away. So she'd pretend to be a guy that is just shadowing me on Facebook, and then she wants me to share my pictures and things like that. Yeah, she would do that. And at that time, I really didn't know, because, you know, Facebook, there's just a lot of people that are, at the time, I didn't even know until she told me when we eventually met that she was doing that.
So do you think not knowing about him for this longest time, did it make things easy for you or harder?
I think it made things easy for me, because when I finally got to meet him, you know, and I got to kind of learn and understand the person he is, I feel like it actually helped me to detach from a lot of things. So for me, it's just, I'm quick to just detach myself because I was never attached to him in the first place. So it kind of makes things easy for me because I don't really have any expectations or anything like that.
So you never felt as if there was something missing in your life?
No, I never felt like there was something missing.
Finally, you meet him.
Yes.
18 years
Yeah.
later. Mm-hmm. What is that feeling like?
So I was supposed to meet him, right? So I was supposed to go there with one of my grandmother's sisters to see him because he's from KZN, right? So we were supposed to arrange a meeting. It was mid-year at the time. Yeah, and then we couldn't because something came up, whatever. So I couldn't. So then he made arrangements to just come with his family. So they came with his family, with his father's, his mother, his family. He came with his family. Yeah, then they introduced themselves, Bahlaula, and they did all of that day when they came. Yeah, it was okay. It was nice because finally, okay, you here, I get to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. And he was scared because he thought I was gonna resent him or I was gonna push him off, whatever. But it was never really that. It never. No.
So they came.
Yeah.
They made this. The day was about you,
Yeah, that day was about me.
and you were happy.
Yeah, I was happy to finally meet that side of my family. It's identity. So yeah, it's nice. It was very nice. And also, and looking at that now in hindsight, I'm like, maybe it wasn't so bad because now, how many people can actually witness that? Because abanye they get by they happen while they're still babies. They can't even recall. But me, I recall that day. I remember it clear as day.
What impact did it make?
On me, for me it was overwhelming because I mean you get to see this person that you have not seen before. You get to learn about who they are, and yeah, it was. I feel like grace. I'd say grace for me is one thing that I got to learn, and it's something that I feel like I have. Yeah, grace.
So they come. Do you have a time to speak with him aside, just the two of you?
Yeah, but also it was a brief conversation because they came, they did whatever, they were talking to everyone and whatever, but it was sort of a brief conversation, and because they had to drive back, so it's a long drive. So they drive back, but then from then on, we kept communication, and then I'd go visit, yeah, and then yeah.
Okay, so what is that first conversation, that brief conversation with him before he leaves?
It was so weird because I didn't know, I don't even know what to say, and also it was a shock for him as well because he thought I was gonna be angry. He thought I was gonna be throwing tantrums, but it was the total opposite. I was just so calm. I was welcoming, you know what I'm saying? So it was just that, like small questions. How's school? How are things going along? You should come visit. That was the last conversation actually, that you should come visit. We should make arrangement. You need to go and see your family and then introduce you. I was like, oh, okay, then it's fine. We'll arrange that. That was that's pretty much how the conversation went. Yeah.
Okay. They go back and you are left behind. What's going through your mind?
I was
at that
excited.
time that you finally
Yes,
met this
I
guy?
was excited. I was very excited. I had no resentment in me whatsoever. I was fine. I was fine. I don't know if maybe that was my coping mechanism or whatnot, but at the time it was, even though now I don't really think I feel like that anymore, like as strongly as I did at the time. So I feel like at the time for me, that all the politics were not important. The most important thing was this.
He was there.
Yes, that was the most important thing for me. The rest of what happened, I didn't really care about that.
Then he leaves, he goes back to his normal life, and you are left with your normal life. You experience this just briefly. Then how does that make you feel? What do you think?
No, for me
As you're
it was
sitting there.
like, okay, finally I met this person. Then that means I'm gonna see him more frequently now. At least now I can call him and find out how he's doing or whatever. And it was like that pretty much. And at that time I was going to varsity, so he was there. He paid for my university tuition and everything. He made sure that okay, now we're starting anew. So with my university tuition, he did support there. Yes, he was not fully, but he tried.
He
I
tried.
think, yeah, he tried.
He tried financially.
Yeah, he tried.
And emotional. Went there some days where you feel like I need him.
Not
You
at
didn't.
all. Not at all. Not at all. Because I feel like I'm so detached to that I never really felt like I need him. For me, it was more of now call him when I need something financially that, okay, you know what I'm saying? I need this and this and this and that. And then we'll have a brief conversation. And then eventually I did go and see him. And I think I stayed with him for like 3 months at the time. And it was a nice experience, but not what I really expected, but it was okay.
Who do you call him? Dad, father, Bodhi. No, I'm asking that question because when I was looking for my father back then, now I finally find him.
Yeah.
Then I don't know how to call him.
I know exactly what you mean.
Like, okay, every man who is old will call him Tata.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
He's Tata because he is
He's
old,
old.
but I can't relate with him as the
Yeah,
father.
that's the thing with me as well. Like, it's that he is utata because he's my father, okay? But I don't really have that strong connection to it. You know, I don't really have that tight connection. So that's why I'm saying there was never really a time where I really felt like I needed him. Yeah. So because there was that disconnect. I mean, like, how do you make up for that? I don't think it's easy to make up for that time. Because, I mean, like, he missed a whole stage, you know, like, from infants, like, a whole lifetime. So that also is, you know, it creates a disconnect. Yeah.
So do you have some plans when you're talking? Going forward, my daughter, this is what we should be doing. Now, going forward, these are the things.
The
that
only
I need.
thing that is, it will always just arrange meetings. But okay, you should come home, and you know what I'm saying. It will always be like that. Like, we don't really have plans. We don't.
And at that time, how is your relationship with your half brothers and sisters?
Oh, the relationship it's a bit. It's not a tight relationship because, I mean, I only got to meet them, you know, when, like, later in life. So yes, they are my siblings, but we don't really have a close relationship like that. It's not, because also he has other kids with other women as well that are not part of his marriage or whatever. So there's that as well. So each person has their own mother. So, and everybody's just doing their own thing. Yeah.
So when you get to know now about that other kind of life with these other kids, how does that make you feel?
That's where the question comes, because all these other kids that, you know, okay, at the time it was only one kid that was outside until you find out that he has another one. But anyway, but yeah, it was that thing that, okay, she's also not part of, but you were there. And crazy thing is, the wife did not even know about me. That's why she was even stalking me on, just to validate that, okay, how come you never told me? You know, how come you... So, and then at that time, it really wasn't something that I was thinking. But later on now, it will always... There are those questions, and yeah, it would always be that. And also, I feel like even I have asked him, it will always be that thing, why, no, at that time we were young and I wasn't sure if you were my child or not. You know, things like that. It would always be that thing, I wasn't sure. So...
And how did those words make you feel?
It actually makes me feel like there's so many things that you could have done to make sure to verify, you know what I'm saying? So, and then it would always be that thing, no, I was also struggling to get a job, I wasn't working, I wasn't this and this and that. And also I feel like that's just one of the things that he says, because there was a time when he was even talking to my grandmother, saying that there was a time where he was in church and he couldn't even bring himself to pray because he knew that he has a child that he left a long time. But then again, it's a lot of contradiction somewhere, somehow. It's just a lot of contradiction. And I feel like for me, it makes it easy for me to just detach from all of that, because I wouldn't really want to be dwelling on that. It would be something that, okay, there's just a lot going on here.
So, you met him, you've got many questions. Did you ask all the questions? Or because you failed to get some answers from some, then you just decide?
I feel like at the time I was even overwhelmed, because there's questions that didn't even come to mind. They only come to mind like now, later on, they keep coming. At the time, it was just that thing, where were you, why? It would always be that, of which I got that response that, okay, I wasn't sure, I wasn't working, things like that. And then it was that, okay, fine, let's just move from that. Let's try to establish a new relationship, like outside of everything that happened. And then, but the relationship is not a solid one. It's really not.
So what are those questions now that you're old that keeps coming up?
That keeps coming up is like, where's the where's the truth in that? Was it really that you didn't know, or was it something that you knew and you decided to step away from? Like, what is it? Which one is it? And also, the only person who can answer that, obviously, you know what I'm saying? But it's things like that. And also, it would always be doubt that, is he really worth it? Do I really have to? You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's that thing that I've been fine for so long. You know what I'm saying? I've been awesome.
Were you really fine? Or it's what you told yourself that you are fine?
I think it could be pretty much that, something that I told myself that I'm fine.
And you believed
it. And then I believed it, and I went with
that. And you continued with
and my life moved very smooth.
Now, as we're sitting here, where is your father?
My father is in KZN.
When last did you talk to him?
When last did I? Oh, I don't know. Like a few weeks ago. Yeah, a few weeks ago.
What were you saying?
No, he just sent me, because most of the time he is the one who always
initiates.
He initiates, yeah, because I don't know. I forget. I forget to call him and whatever. I really forget, because he's not embedded in my subconscious as, you know what I'm saying? He comes as an afterthought. He always comes as an afterthought. So he always initiates. He'll call me, he'll send me a text. How are you doing? I'm good. Okay. How is work going? Work is fine. How are you? And that's it.
Okay. So you continue with life, forgetting, I have a father when he calls.
Yeah, he'll always remind me. He'll always remind me, oh, yeah.
I have a father.
Yeah.
Okay, so all this situation growing up like this kind of a relationship that's not so tight, and how does it shape you to be the person that you are today?
I feel like it shaped me because I'm very cautious of my energy. I am cautious with my energy. I'm very cautious on the people that I let in. So it made me build walls around myself. It made me learn how to detach from people. You know what I'm saying? And I know it's not a good thing. It's not entirely good to detach, but I feel like it taught me not to have really high expectations, even from people that are your blood. I mean, if a person that is the reason why you're here can't do that, who's to say the next person cannot do that? You know what I'm saying? So it teaches you detachment from people in particular and situations, Yeah.
So are there any major consequences that you can point to that came as a result of what you have learned or what that relationship taught you? For an example, you say it makes you to lower your expectations. Yeah. Is that a bad or a good thing?
No,
Are there any situations where you feel here, my expectations should have been there.
Yeah, but because
of this, it has affected me.
yes, I've had so many situations like that, and crazy enough, in as much as I have grace, I believe that I do have grace, but at the same time, it's very short. It's short-lived. So yeah, you don't give, sometimes it limits you because you don't give people credit that is due to them, because there's always those reservations that, oh, okay, maybe if I give you the props or all that you deserve, you don't even deserve it, because what if, who's to say what's going to happen, things like that. So it's really not a good thing, because there's so much to be celebrated. There's so many people that come into your life with positive intentions, but because of these walls that you build around yourself to protect your energy, protect your sanity, and protect your space, sometimes it becomes too much. You overprotect to a point that now you don't let people in, people that deserve to be there.
And how are you dealing with that?
As I said earlier, I'm unlearning a lot of things. I am unlearning a lot of things. I am trying to make better of every situation that I had encountered. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm working through that. I wouldn't really say therapy or anything like that, because I tried. I think it's just it was a disconnect thing. But other than that, I'm unlearning a lot of things by myself. Yeah.
Okay. So you looking back in your life now, do you get to a point where you get to say, if my father was fully present in my life, I would have been here by now and here? Do you have those imaginations?
Not really. No, because I don't think, like, learning the person that he is, when I finally got to meet him, I got to realize I don't think he was going to make any difference, truly speaking. I don't think he was going to make much difference.
But don't you think it was at least going to be better that he was going to be there?
Yeah, it was going to be better, because maybe I wouldn't have so much questions about myself, about my own identity. Obviously it's going to be different from a child who knew their father from a young age growing up, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to someone that you meet them in your adult life, you know what I'm saying. So yes, obviously, I'm sure it would have turned out better or even worse. I don't know.
So did this identity question make you sometimes not fit in well in certain situations?
Yeah, it does. It does, because now, I mean, like, if you have identity issues and identity crisis, obviously you will detach from a lot of things. Obviously you will not fit in, because sometimes you won't even relate to some of the things. You know what I'm saying? You won't relate to some of the things in certain circles and in certain spaces. You're not going to relate because you don't have that.
So how do you close that gap as you grow up?
How do I close? I feel like talking about it, being vocal about it, and being able to share my experience, because I'm always open to share my experience. It's not even something that I'm ashamed of, something that I feel. So I feel like for me, talking about it, engaging and sharing my experience with others helps me a lot, because now I get to see that maybe not knowing my father, if I had known him, I wouldn't have turned out the person that I am today, and who's to say what was going to happen. So I don't really cry for the unknown, you know what I'm saying, because it could have been good or it could have been worse. All I'm saying is, if he had been there, maybe I wouldn't have turned out like this, the way that I am today.
Today, how is your relationship with your mother?
Oh, my relationship with my mother is good. Like, my mother has been consistent from childhood, whatever. She's always been there. She's always been supportive. Yes, she's not perfect. Yes, but our relationship is not deep. We are not like deeply friends or anything like that. Because even with my mother, there's certain things that we cannot talk about. It's like relationships, sexuality, intimate stuff. That's just something we don't talk about.
Why?
I think she's just not, because as a parent, I'm not a parent, but I believe that as a parent, you create a safe space for your child to be able to communicate with you. So if you're not going to do that, then it's not going to be a safe space for them. So I think she's never really done that to create a safe environment where we can, yes, we talk about everything. We talk about life, but there's just a barrier, a line that we cannot, cross. So my relationship with my mother is strictly mother and daughter. That's it. Like, there's no friendship in between or anything like that. It's just mother and daughter relationship. That's it.
So what do you think it will take to get you guys to that level where you're able to talk about any and everything?
I think it would actually take us opening up, and because also sometimes I try, but then again I'll get short responses and this and that and that. I'm like, okay, maybe let me just stop it. So I think it would also take her being open, but also I feel like now it's kind of late now, because I mean, it is. I feel like it is, because I feel like if you don't establish that from that age, it's difficult for me now. Even if she tries now, it's not easy for me to just open up because I'm not used to that. Yeah.
Okay, so your father is still alive.
Yeah.
If you will get a moment to address him, let's say you've got so many things that you had inside that you didn't even talk about, you maybe didn't want to talk about, some just, let me just let it be. What is it that you would want to say to him if you really were given a platform to express how you feel inside?
Mm-hmm. Okay, first of all, I feel like I would ask, but because I feel like he's also not making that much effort. So I also think even to him, I sometimes come as an afterthought. So he's also not used to having me as a child as well. So he'd remember that, oh shit, yeah, So I'd ask him, okay, now that we know each other, you know where I am, I know where, but when are you going to take that step to build this? Because there's nothing here. Because I feel like that's up to him, because I think I've taken steps to show you that, okay, this is what's up, because I never pushed you away. I never showed any, because I don't resent him for anything. I don't resent him for anything. I don't hate him. I really don't have any anger towards him, but I wish he could do better to building that relationship.
What did he miss?
He missed my childhood. He missed my innocence. You know what I'm saying? He missed my innocence. He missed knowing me, from that time to now. And also I feel like if you miss that, it's so hard to actually repay. But I also feel like he's not doing enough to establish that bond or make time for that time that was lost. Yeah.
Okay. So to someone who grew up like you, who is listening right now, who doesn't even know where to start, what few words do you have for that person?
Well, they don't know where to start. I've been there. I've really been there, and I'd be lying if I'd say it's not confusing. It leaves you with a lot of, especially when it comes to identity, of asking yourself, who am I exactly? Like, who is this person? Because there's always that thing that is missing, that who am I? Like, how did I come to be? So whoever who is actually battling with that, I'll just say, just have grace. I feel like for me, grace is one thing that took me from that point to here. That's one thing that made me more resilient, because I understand that we cannot really base our lives based on other people's actions. Someone else's actions should not define who you are, because everybody has a choice. So even your mother or your father who's not present, that's their choice. Everybody has a choice. It could be circumstances, yes, but at the end of the day, it's a choice. So don't let other people's choices define who you are.
So for your father not to play enough role to try to close this gap and capitalize on what he has missed, have you forgiven him?
For that, I think I have. And I didn't do that for him. I did it for myself, because forgiving someone, it takes you. It takes you. I never. Yes, he did apologize, whatever, but it takes more than someone apologizing for you to forgive them. So for me, I did it for my own peace of mind. You know what I'm saying? For my own sanity, for me not to hold on to that for long. So forgiveness for me was just a way of moving on and healing from those things and not letting that determine who I am today. Yeah.
So the Abongile that I see today, if she were to address that young Abongile, what would you say to her? What have you learned?
I would only tell her one thing: it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
What does that mean?
Well, it simply means that yes, you had questions. Yes, some of the questions are not answered, but you're still here. You are resilient, and you are who you think you are, despite of everything that happened. Yes, it's not easy. It's not a very ideal situation to be in, but then again, I don't believe in coincidences. That is part of who I am. You know what I'm saying? And there's no part of myself that I would say I'm ashamed of, or I regret, or you know what I'm saying? Because especially things that I did not have control, because I did not have control over that. I did not ask for any of that to happen, but it so happened. So it's okay.
So you still believe that absence can still produce purpose?
It can, depending on how you look at it.
And how you handle
it. And how you handle it.
Okay. So the last one, as we are drawing closer to the end, what do you want people to understand about fatherlessness that is always misunderstood?
Okay. I'm not going to speak for everybody because everyone's experience is different, and I'm not taking away that from anyone, because I've seen so many people that say, if my father was here, maybe my life would have turned out for the better. Maybe my life would have turned out great. But my question is, what are you doing now? What are you doing now for yourself? Yes, that whatever happened. Yes, it wasn't easy. But because I feel like in every situation that happens, it doesn't matter how horrible it is, there's always a good that comes out of everything. There's good in everything. There's God in everything. So then the question is, what are you doing? What are you doing as a person? Like, what steps are you taking? What are you doing to empower yourself?
Good questions.
Yes.
And you've found your answers to those questions for yourself.
Yes, so them as well, they must find those answers to themselves, because I still say you cannot let other people's actions deter you from your purpose. Because now, unfortunately, we can never undo what happened. I'm not saying people should just move on. And even for me, it wasn't that thing. It wasn't as easy as just waking up and just moving on. No, because kids out there, they grew up in orphanages, in dire situations, and yet their parents, because I don't want their parents or even their fathers are living their best lives, because unfortunately, in most society, it's normalized for women to take care of kids. You know what I'm saying? So that's also the community that I come from. Unfortunately, where women are raising kids alone, it's so normal that kids don't even question who their father is, because it's normal for every household to have kids that don't have fathers. So which means it's a problem that needs to be addressed in communities, because there's nothing normal. It shouldn't be normal for that, but unfortunately it is normal.
And that's what we're trying to address
Yes.
with this podcast. Last one. Would you say the issue of fatherlessness affect boys more than girls, or
Okay,
there's a
remember
balance
one
there?
thing. I feel like I wouldn't really say it affects who more, whatever, but it affects everyone. But I feel like for girls, if you are feminine, obviously you need a masculine energy, someone who's going to guide you, but you relate more to the feminine side, because there's things that you experience as a woman that your grandmother, your mother has gone through. Now for a boy child, it's different, because now you're a boy, you're growing up in a house full of women. Nobody understands you when you hit puberty. There's things that you can't even talk about because they don't even relate. Your mother does not relate. So I feel like now the problem becomes that, because now boys that are raised by mothers, they can't openly talk about these things, and as a result they go out themselves to be fathers who are fatherless. They become fatherless themselves because they don't have male role models. They don't have fathers, they don't have male role models. The only all the education that they know about being a man comes from other kids in the streets, people that are going to give them all the misleading information. You know what I'm saying? So then what kind of community are we raising? What kind of male children are we raising? Because I feel like it starts from there, raising kids to understand the importance of family, raising boys to understand the importance of taking care of their kids, you know, things like that. Because even now, it's still a situation where if a girl is in high school and she's pregnant, for instance, right? And then chances are she's going to raise that child alone, because the boy is not going to be accountable for anything. And also, I'm not blaming them, because also they are young as well. They're still going to go out there. They're still going to explore as well. But unfortunately, as a girl, there's nowhere to run for you. Unfortunately for you, there's just nowhere to run, because even society shames women more for leaving kids than they do to men. You know, because it's sort of like a norm for fathers to not be there. But also, I feel like now it's getting better in a way. I feel like now it's getting there. And I like what I see now. I like what I see. I see a lot of men, young men, that are actively taking care of their kids. They are responsible for their kids. So which is something that we should always be encouraging, you know. So I feel like it's important for boys to have fathers.
All right, that's a wrap. I think we will have you for part 2
Okay.
someday.
All right.
To check how are you, where are you in life, and how are things going. When you were introducing yourself in the beginning, you mentioned interesting stuff. If you can close with that, who is Abongile? What are you doing?
Okay.
People who want to find you, where can they find you?
All right. So Abongile is a co-founder of Black Crown. So we do an organic hair care range. So we have oils, hairsprays, and whatever for organic hair care. So if you want to test some of our products, you can catch me on Abongile Homane Memela on Facebook, same name on Instagram and on TikTok. Yes.
Thank you so much for taking your time to come and have this chat with us. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in, and we hope that you enjoyed, you have learned something. We're always having more that we will bring along so that you can be built so that you can learn and you can be a better person. And to everyone who wants to sponsor the show, please find the details below here. When you sponsor us, then we will display whatever products that you are about or whatever services that you are busy dealing with, because you are our sponsor. So you will find details. If you are undergoing some form of depression and you need to talk to someone, remember there are professional bodies that are out there who are waiting for your call. Some are free. You just need to make that call or send WhatsApp, and we'll also share those details below here so that you will be able to find the help that you need. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe and to share and to like and to leave us comments so that we can keep on engaging, because Daddy Issues Platform Podcast is to open up that platform so that we can communicate about the issues that have been a taboo for a longest time, especially within Black families. And this is your host, Sempiwe Kaniti. Thank you.